daily allegory through astrological divination. Like Mars today, with no aspects, only Mars and Leo, we're going to jump right into this impulsively, right into the story. Today's story is the Mirror Protocol, when the subject becomes the observer. They called it longitudinal behavioral analysis, a sterile title meant to disguise what it really was, a private laboratory where human psychology was stress tested until it failed. The subject, filed as L17, was selected because the algorithms said that he would break. His background showed pressure points, historical trauma, social isolation vectors. The team believed they understood him well enough to dismantle him piece by piece. Under the influence of Mars and Leo, they expected defiance, emotional flare-ups, ego fractures. What they did not anticipate was patience, predatory, deliberate patience. At first, everything looked textbook. The subject reacted exactly as projected. Moments of withdrawal, controlled anger, apparent vulnerability. Analysts logged progress with quiet satisfaction, unaware that the responses were being curated. L17 had noticed that the cadence of their interference, the timing of stressors, the way certain provocations always followed specific emotional disclosures. He recognized patterns long before they suspected awareness, and then he made a decision. If they were studying him, he would give them a performance, one precise enough to teach him exactly how they thought. Show them how desperate they were for a show at the expense of others, and a performance so convincing the sheer chaos of itself was an anomalous factor in the very nature. He began feeding them manufactured fractures, exposing calculated weaknesses like open doors left deliberately, just for no reason. When they escalated, he noted which protocols activated. When they retreated, he marked what frightened them. He learned their language, their confidence thresholds, the point at which curiosity turned into cruelty. The subject was no longer surviving the experiment. He was running one. Each response he gave was designed to pull a more aggressive tactic than them, to coax them into revealing how far they would go, what lines they believed themselves above crossing. What unsettled the team was how often he anticipated their moves. Meetings ended with recommendations that he'd already neutralized. Pressure campaigns failed before they even launched. Analysts joked nervously about coincidence until coincidence became impossible. Their private doubts started surfacing in his reactions, mirrored back with unnerving accuracy. The possibility that he was listening without sound was dismissed outright. Telepathy was not in the framework. It had no checkbox, no protocol, and so it went unrecorded, right up until classified information began appearing in places it shouldn't have existed. As weeks turned to months, the operation inverted completely. The subject's apparent instability drew in more assets, more observers, more clearance. Each addition widened the branch. Old cases resurfaced, sealed indictments, suppressed evidence, names buried beneath layers of mutual protection. The subject never threatened exposure, although it's not ruled out. He didn't need to, though. He simply allowed them to talk, to vent, to assume safety. They handed him their secrets willingly, without thinking twice, guided by subtle emotional nudges that they mistook for dominance. Entire networks, conspiracies that believed themselves beyond consequence, found their foundations quietly eroding. By the time the breach was acknowledged, it was already too late. Internal data sets had already been altered. Behavioral models no longer predicted outcomes. Analysts reported recurring nightmares, intrusive thoughts, paranoia that they just couldn't seem to explain. Some requested reassignment. Others quit without notice. A few vanished into early retirement, convinced that they were being watched, because in a way they kind of were. The subject had become a mirror so precise it reflected not just their behavior, but their guilt. The shutdown order came without warning. Facilities went dark. Servers became wiped. Personnel were reassigned under silence agreements that they barely even read. The final report was circulated once, then sealed at the highest level. It contained a single sentence that ended the study and erased its entire existence. Subject has achieved complete operational awareness. Continued observation presents unacceptable risk to operational security and personnel psychological stability. What followed was worse than exposure. Absence. No confrontation, no closure. Just the knowledge that they had never been in control. That the man they tried to dismantle carried something older than their methods. Something forged in bloodlines that survived catastrophes history refused to even document. People who endured conditions designed to erase humanity and adapted. That type of resilience had been passed into him intact, along with an awareness of past atrocities that made even seasoned criminals very, very uneasy. In classified corridors, long after clearances expired, one truth lingered like a stain. They had not studied a broken man. They had trained a researcher. And whatever he was, human or something adjacent to it, he had learned everything he needed to from them. So the only thing he had to say to all of it all, thanks for the free education. Genuinely, I appreciate it. We're going to end this with the invocation of the closed loop and the open road. In the presence of God Almighty, source beyond measurement, I call the circuit to close and the path to open. By the laws that govern seen and unseen, by conservation, coherence, and return, let every loop resolve its balance. Let every fragmented signal converge into truth. I invoke the closed circuit, where energy completes its course, where intention meets consequence, where no charge is lost and no motion remains unaccounted. Let the quantum leap occur, not through chaos, but through coherence, a state change earned by awareness. By the geometry of the path made clear, I open the road where it was blocked. I straighten the way where it was bent by deceit. I dissolve delays seeded by malice, and return ill intent to the field of its origin, neutralized, absorbed, rendered inert by the authority of the Most High. Let all karmic cycles complete now, not through vengeance, but through closure. What was initiated finds its end. What was hidden is now revealed. What was stolen returns to alignment. By quantum law, let probability collapse in favor of clarity. Let observation replace manipulation. Let the observer become free of interference. I call for the new path to stabilize, uncharged by the past, unburdened by residue, unblocked by fear or false narrative. May every hostile vector lose momentum, every obstruction dissolve into silence, every closed door open only to what is true. By God the Most High, who absorbs what cannot persist and sustains what must endure. The circuit is sealed, the leap is complete, the road is now open. So it is closed, so it is opened, so it is done. With the divine authority I contain, let this law be law that underlies law. And so it is. And our affirmation for this is I observe with clarity, act with coherence, and no system built on deception can bind me. That is all.